We've discussed a vast area of issues this week, some of them going to the heart of what economics is about. Being able to predict the price and a quantity changes in a certain market, and being able to say something about the industry dynamics, the entry, exit, the number of firms, and expected profits in a certain industry. A lot of what we've talked about addresses the factors affecting demand and supply. How much consumers will optimally buy depends on the price of the good itself relative to how much consumers are willing to pay for a certain good. The more quantity consumers have of a certain good, the less they value the additional unit of that good. This is why the price needs to go down to make you buy more. But your willingness to pay depends on a bunch of other factors, such as how much you expect the price to be tomorrow, prices of related goods, and income and preferences. How much firms will be ready to supply on the market depends on how much they will get for the good relative to how much each unit costs to produce. Then, if the price of the good is above or equal to the marginal costs, the firms will be willing to produce that good. But if the price goes below marginal costs, it doesn't make much sense for the firms to keep producing. Notice, however, that in a competitive market, firms rarely have the ability to control the price. They can control to a certain extent their marginal costs. Marginal costs depend on how productive the factors are and how much production factors costs to hire. Now, if factors become more productive, then the marginal costs fall and optimal quantities change for each price that firms face on the market. In general, anything that has the ability to shift the marginal cost curve has the ability to change the optimal quantities supplied by the firm at each market price. When consumers maximizing utility meet profit maximizing firms, there will be certain price and certain quantity that satisfies both sides of the market. At the same time, the market does not experience shortage or surpluses. In this case, we say that the market is in equilibrium. When, in addition to the above, we have individual consumers and firms who are not able to affect the market price, who are price takers, we have the so-called competitive equilibrium. Real-world markets are typically not perfectly competitive, but knowing the model of perfect competition will allow us to benchmark real-life markets to an ideal world, to a world which gives the consumers and firms the maximum gains that they can get. So knowing how a real model stacks against a perfectly competitive model, a real world stacks against a perfectly competitive model, will enable us to say how much the consumers and firms are missing by not operating on a competitive market. Therefore, it will be useful to have a seminar on the model of perfect competition and on how the market changes when supply and demand change. Next week, we'll discuss the framework we developed here, and we'll go deeper into the exciting topics of how the government intervention into the pricing, entry and exit, and taxation will change the equilibrium in the market. We'll also see who gains and who loses when the government intervenes. So, thanks for watching, and see you next week.